Okay, hey everybody. Let's talk about some anchors in Unity. I'm just a student, so I will probably get some things wrong. Probably get some things wrong. I don't know if I want to say that. I mean, I know what I'm doing, right? You guys can trust me, maybe. So anyway, but I am just a student. If you follow my instructions and you get a bad grade, don't blame me. Is all I'm saying. Unity 5.5 is the version that I'm using. That's not necessarily the version that will exactly match the textbook. And I am assuming that you have read Chapter 2, but that you just might not be very familiar with Unity. So let's get to it. Over here on the left, we have our hierarchy. In the middle, we have our scene view, but we also have our game view as well, and we can switch between the two by using those tabs at the top. Right below that, we have our drop down where we can change our resolution that our game view is using. It should be on free aspect to begin with, but you'll probably want to change it to 3:2 by landscape for most of what we'll be doing. Then after that, on the right, we have our inspector, and you can see if we click on something like the main camera, then all of the details we can be inspected over here in the inspector. I'm going to switch back to scene view and then go ahead and create actually I'm going to go ahead and just create a UI panel, which is a game object with a rect transform and an image script. And we're going to use that as our board. I said script again. An image component. And as a rect transform component and an image. It does say script, but component is what we care about because we're not actually going to be changing any of its code. Then once we have that created, we can go back to our canvas and we can change our canvas scalar component to scale with screen size. And we want it set to 960 by 640. And if you have the canvas scalar set up this way, it really changes the behavior of anchors. It's almost kind of hard to understand what anchors are supposed to do when you have the scaling set up this way, but we'll just kind of go with it. But yeah, so once you have your canvas scalar set to scale with screen width and those values, that should be all you need to do there. Then just to kind of show what's going on here, I'm going to go ahead and set our x min to 0 and our x max to 0.5, then our y min to 0 and our y max to 1. Then I'm going to go ahead and reset our position to 0. And you can see what's going on here, especially if we go to the game view, is it is taking up the left half of the screen. The light blue is our panel, or our board. Our board is the light blue part, and you can see that our board takes up half of the screen. Even if we change the size of it or we change it to portrait, it still takes up the left half of the screen. And that's, in this case, that's what our anchors mean. Our x, it starts at 0, then it goes to half, and our y goes from 0. That's actually, I think, the top of the screen or something, but to the bottom. It goes from 0 to 1. So it goes 100% of the vertical aspect of the screen, but only half of the horizontal. And if you can do that, that probably should answer your question. Feel free to not watch the rest of it, but we're going to go ahead and just do that. If this isn't working, to where you can change these values, and then we want this to be 0.67, and then set this to 0. If when you have it set up like that, it's not changing when you look at the game view, then you may have something buggy going on with Unity or something else. I'm really not sure, but this is the way it is supposed to work. But yes, so the way that the chapter wants us to do it is it wants us to have our game board take up the left 2/3 of the screen. So that's from 0% of the screen to 66% or 67% if you're rounding. Yeah, so that's the left 2/3 of the screen. Then we're going to go ahead and click on our board, and we're going to add a new UI button. And what we want this to do is we want this to take up the top left corner of the board. So because our button is attached to the board, if we set everything to 1, then we reset these to 0. Sorry, let's see if we can get this right. There we go. So we set it to stretch first. We set those to 0, and we can, oh yeah, sorry, from 0 to 1, not everything 1, but from 0 to 0 min to 1 max, 0 min to 1 max. Then we can see that our button takes up our whole board. But we don't want that. We want it to go from 0 to 1/3, and then from actually 0.67 to 1. We reset those to 0. And now you can see that our board takes up the left 2/3 of the screen, and our button takes up the top corner. And even if we change this here, change the aspect ratio, this makes it look a little funny, but it is actually taking up still that top corner of the board. You could fit 2 more buttons the same size below it and 2 more buttons the same size beside it. So it's what we were told it to do. Now, if we click back over here, after we change these values, if we click back over here and set this to stretch again, it changes the way some of these numbers look and makes it almost more confusing. And actually now, if we go back to portrait, it makes it even stretch differently. And I'm just going to be honest with you, it's pretty confusing. I'm not even sure why it behaves that much differently in that situation. But that is the steps that the textbooks say to do. After you have it set to that, you can make it stretch again. And then, yeah, that is our 0 button. We can make another button and have this one go from the same x values. So from 0 min to 1/3, sorry, to 1/3, not 33, but 1/3 max. And then from y, we want it to go from a minimum of 1/3 to a max of 2/3. Hopefully the fractions are not ruining your day too badly like they did mine. And there we go. Now that one takes up 1/3 of the board vertically and 1/3 of the board horizontally, or that tic-tac-toe square. And you can do all of the same for the rest of them. Again, after you have those anchors set that way, the textbook says what you want to do is reset it to stretch. You might want to play around with a little bit of that on your own and see if you can figure out what the difference is between when you set it back to stretch and when you don't, besides how it changes these numbers over here. You can see this doesn't say the same things we just set it to after we made it stretch again. Very confusing. Hopefully that answered both of your questions, and if not, Yeah, if not, just reply back in the forum or email the instructor. And I think there's still a week left before this assignment is due, so that should be enough time to get it figured out, hopefully. And yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. Thanks.